My name's Kath Albury. I'm a Professor of Media and Communication at Swinburne University of Technology. My research focuses mainly on the ways that people represent themselves in social media or digital media, particularly around their gender identity or their sexuality. My research project used selfies with sexuality educators as an exercise to help them build a bit of empathy around young people's social media practices. So when we took selfies with the sexuality educators, we learned some really interesting things. One thing we learned was that some people had never taken a selfie before and they had very strong ideas about what selfies were. Sometimes these were very negative ideas, and they also were sometimes quite uncomfortable with the technology, the use of the phone or the use of filters or the use of the camera itself. One of the interesting things we learned in this particular project was that many of the sexuality educators had a very strong feeling about why young people took selfies, but they had never taken a selfie themselves, and having that experience changed the way they thought about other people's activities. Using selfies in research for me is a really interesting way both to help people think about and reflect on their own feelings about social media and social media practices or digital media practices. Even if they're not sharing the picture, they often have a very strong emotional reaction to taking the picture, and that's a really interesting tool for opening up discussion in a research project. Using selfies as a research method was really interesting for me because I hadn't realized how many people were uncomfortable with taking selfies or didn't have great literacy around taking selfies, and how productive it was going to be to talk about that discomfort. I had only ever taken selfies in research with young people before who were super literate, but trying out the practice is a really interesting way to physically start up a conversation about technology, about sharing, about communication with others, about a whole range of things that we're interested in relation to digital media, but might not come out in a classic interview process.